Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Iowa soccer supporters. I'm Ben Brackett, your Soccer Talk co-host, sitting down the table from my good buddy Blake Sievers. Siebes, how are you?
I am great, Ben.
I'm glad to hear that. And we've got, of course, Matthew Sahag, the Titan tactician. Matt, welcome.
Hey.
Man of only many words when he's talking tactics. So we did a little mix it up again because we missed you guys and we wanted to get back on the pod. So game of the week this week, we went and saw the boys' alma mater and our hometown team, the Drake Bulldogs. The boys' side, the men's side, take on Oral Roberts from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it was a beautiful fall night, wasn't it, Siebers?
Oh, it was great. During the day, right, it was a little great fall weather, a little chilly, a little rain.
Gray. Yeah.
And then as the day wore on, it became a perfect night to play.
We were just talking off the mic about the atmosphere over at MediaCom, and it has the potential to always be awesome because it's such a great stadium. Maybe not as many people as we would have thought would be there on a Saturday night, especially if you're on campus too, right?
Everything, right? We talked about there's a big tournament, youth tournament in town. That there was one girls team there, our friend Nate Reisky,
and former Drake Bulldog.
Yeah, not a very good golfer but no. And then there was the students. So I don't know. We got to figure out a way to get this ramped up a little bit.
Yeah, I would just think with the stadium being on campus, that would be a thing, right?
Yeah, and I think we talked a little bit about last week about the just kind of where we sit or where people sit and stand. So we usually go behind the goal, and it offers a completely different view compared to if you sit right on top of the field. That first row, you can hear all the coaches' comments. It's just two different, super cool experiences, but two completely different viewpoints as well.
Yeah, and they usually, because the stadium's not filled, they have because we were standing outside the stadium, right? Outside the fence, but actually there's like a sort of a sloped grass.
Yeah, a little hill.
And they actually have a sponsor. It's not Hy-Vee, it's Fairway, right? The Fairway has like a family slope or whatever, and it shut off. It shut off every time we go there. The other thing is, I had Lucas there, my son, who's 1, and you can't bring strollers in. You can't bring strollers into MediaCom. So I've got to hold him for 90 minutes. So anyway. We get back to the soccer, but that's just a little sort of a inconvenience.
Well,
I know it's a big stadium. You got to search the bags and the strollers and stuff. But anyway,
fair enough. These are problems we never would have thought you'd be having, Matthew.
I know.
But yeah, so let's talk about the game a little bit. Drake has been on a little bit of they've been hot, right? They came into the game undefeated. They had won 4. This will be their 5th win, and they've tied 3 games. So, I don't know, undefeated after 8 games. I think Pat Flynn would have taken that at the beginning of the year, right?
Show me a season where that's happened before. I don't know. Is there?
That's a great
after
question.
8 games?
Sievers,
not when I played.
Certainly not.
Definitely not when you defeated, maybe. But
yeah, so, great stuff for the Bulldogs. And I think the thing that we enjoy the most about it is you've got a team with that's really good, but it's at least like half the starters on any given night could be from the state of Iowa, which we love, and it's great to see these guys making an impact. And some of them they're just doing really, really great. We'll highlight them as we talk, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I think that's just it's super satisfying as a local person to see that. And then Blake was looking at the Oral Roberts roster, right, Siebes? And you said they were. It was a very heavily foreign roster, and it says like where they're from. So a lot of these players get recruited from overseas or from out of the country because they've already got some really good experience, and maybe they're a little older, or there's different mechanisms to get them over here, right? And I don't know, when you compare that with a bunch of Iowa guys, and then Oral Roberts didn't really have a sniff the whole game, did they?
Right. And it's interesting too because it shows the different recruiting sort of strategies, right? Because under the prior Drake coach Gareth Smith, we had much more of a overseas foreign recruiting strategy. If you looked at that roster, I remember we would look at it and there would be 75 to 80% of the guys and definitely they're contributors on the field. Now, like you said, we've got, I would call it, even local beyond Iowa, just because the
very
people that,
Midwestern.
yeah, exactly, and the people that contributed last night, I'm sure we'll get into it. They're all right in around Iowa, so I love that local, stay close to home recruiting strategy. And then for us guys who follow the high school game, to be able to watch, kids in high school go on to start playing in college, you actually go to the game looking for recognizable faces. And
Well,
it's fun.
And you're seeing players that are standout players in high school then go and translate that into the college game, and right away, right? So you talk the freshman boys. You talked about you had Johnny Mendez making a great impact. Landon Benj was awesome last night, and these guys that just they were playing in high school soccer
Just 3 months ago.
Yeah, exactly, and just making an instant impact. So super cool to see.
And for me, not only impact, but I mean, for me personally, I think both those guys are. I mean, they're, to me, when I've seen them play, I mean, I think they could be in the Drake first 11 as freshmen on any given night. So
Yeah, it looks
so
like
they're
it.
doing great.
We talked a little bit about with Pat about that during the season, right?
Their
on
strategy.
our last pod, yeah, and he
Yeah.
is making an effort. Kyle is making an effort to recruit local and, like you said, Matt, regionally, and then look at your staff too, right? You got 2 Iowa boys.
Yep.
Which makes sense, by the way. I mean, so if you're a recruit looking at a school, right? I mean, it's interesting to me, right? Because we've got all these events where the like if you're a Midwest coach now, you're going out to, and I don't know this, I'm just assuming this because I'm not talking out of school here, or I'm assuming this. You're going to Seattle to recruit what, like a player from where to come to Des Moines, Iowa? You're going to Florida, wherever. That's where these ECNL events are. So it just got it to me. If you're a Midwest kid now from Woodbury, Minnesota,
I was gonna say,
from Kansas City area, from Des Moines, Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, you know that Drake is recruiting in the state, in and around the state, and it's a good quality Division I program. And so that should give some kids a lot of hope and I think incentive to have a look at Drake in high school to be playing for something.
well, and Pat, seems to have a track record of taking, younger players too, right? Because a lot of the recruiting strategies are like transfer portal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you're looking for players ultimately with more experience that can come in and contribute right away. And Pat's saying, you know what? No, like I'll take a Preston Kipnusu who's a little raw, and let me work with him. And obviously Preston's made some huge strides forward in his game and has scored a bunch of big goals. I think picking somebody like Cole Schrage out,
Exactly.
like Cole is a stud, and I watched him play high school, and I was kind of like, okay, like he's all right.
Is he a junior or a sophomore now?
I think he's a sophomore.
He's only a sophomore?
Yeah, and he
He
plays
got a
every
song
single.
last night, didn't he?
He did. He got a little song
Yeah,
from
it was
Steve's.
good.
Well-
But he's a steady Eddie, right? Like he plays every single minute.
Mm-hmm.
He's tough defensively. He doesn't lose the ball. He contributes occasionally with an assist here or there, a goal. He's the kind of guy who's going to start all 4 years at Drake and be. He'll be captain by the time he's a senior, I would guess.
So he's a junior.
Is he? Okay, well, fair enough.
Yeah. But still, but think about what that looks like for a junior or a senior in high school right now who's trying to figure out where they want to go, and they're seeing a guy like Cole now, play as a freshman and a sophomore, and now, getting 90 minutes as a junior.
Yeah, and we're not even talking about Jackson Kirsch,
Yeah, Kirsch too.
who's
You've got-
possibly one of their best players, right? What a player.
Right, and then you've got Preston who's getting significant time as well. So then it's, that's why you go then get like the 4 or 5 best players coming out of Iowa in, Mendez, Benj, Dancer.
Yep, that's great.
who's
He
the
played
other
well
Iowa City
too.
boy?
Fuentes.
Fuentes. Yep.
Fuentes as well.
Well, then you look at somebody like Kale Leach or the Kale Orban that are currently seniors. So but they're the summer of going into their senior year, they'd already committed to somewhere like Drake, which is, for Coach Flynn and Kyle, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so like tell me you can't recruit out of Iowa and then get results because you're 5-0-3, and Oral Roberts. No one's going to say that they were the best team. Drake's played them for a long time. They're having a down year so far, but Drake has played, gone to Marquette and gotten a decent result. Played UNO. And so it's not like it's been a cake preseason schedule. They've played some good teams. Got a good result against DePaul, who's always tough. So doing it with local Iowa guys, Midwest guys, and young guys, and I'm sure we'll get into it. But the top performers last night were not only from around here, but they were the youngest guys in the field.
Yeah, definitely. So maybe we talk a little bit about the game and just kind of, I won't necessarily call it a timeline, but just kind of work through it from beginning to end and talk about some of the different things that happened. I think probably, unfortunately, the most significant bit of the early part of the game was Jackson Kirsch going down with a little injury. Hopefully just a little injury. It was sort of unsure. It looked like it could be bad, but it also was like kind of awkward, so maybe it's okay. But he's their most influential player.
Yeah, we had a good look at it too, right? Like he was coming from the left edge of the box, and he gets fouled a little bit, and it's one of those where he could have gone down earlier, I think, and played for a little bit of a, like, what is it, in the box or outside of the box on a penalty, but he rode the challenge and gets into the box, and it looks like he may sort of he's trying to beat another tackle, and the guy just tackled him, and
he's just going one way, right? And
I don't even know if it was hard because to me it didn't look like the turf. It just looked like one of those challenges where he's almost like in the air, and then the challenge comes in, and so it just puts pressure on your knee, and so he went straight down, and he knew he had a problem right away. He immediately started calling for the trainer, but we were close enough. If it was ACL or something like that, we may have been able to hear like a pop or a snap. We did not hear that. So hopefully it was a challenge that he just was more concerned about, something that was happening, and it might be just like a ligament strain or something like that. But I mean, he tried to stay on, but he had to go off, and then I think Evan was telling us he was on crutches later in the game. So hopefully it's just a little bit of a strain, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, agreed.
Or sooner.
Yeah, because definitely somebody they would miss without him. I think they did miss him throughout the game. There wasn't as much, sort of like penetrating, attacking stuff, and he sort of has a tendency to not like force things forward, but just push things forward. He makes the game move, so in that sense, the other player that really stood out was Damian Segura, the number 10. And he was out with an injury last year, so seeing him back in full swing obviously is good. And I mean, he's the guy. Every time he touches it, you're looking to see what he's going to do.
Yeah, and he had that free kick, right?
Great free kick.
Got saved, but
overall his service was pretty good from set pieces.
Yeah, and this is kind of where, just going really quick back to the where people are coming from, right? You've got 90% Midwest guys, and then you pull in your kid he's from Georgia, you pull in your goalkeeper who's an Aussie, and otherwise that makes up the team. But I think you kind of, right, you've got the big parts locally, and then you pull one or two or three from a little bit further outside that kind of hopefully make the difference. And I thought he was good in the first half.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about some other
But
players.
He didn't play much in the second, right? So which was interesting.
Well, yeah, I was going to say it seemed like maybe they made a little bit of change. We went through the first half, and we talked with Coach Flynn at halftime, and he seemed sort of frustrated, right? And I feel like, I don't know. I mean, I would be too. It didn't seem like Oral Roberts had like a really cohesive game plan, or like they were just sort of playing it around, and I don't know. Did they have a single chance?
Well, that's going to be the challenge, because that happened last week against
DePaul,
and then Omaha as well, right? Like, you're trying to break teams down, and they're struggling, I think is fair to say, because they've got the possession of the ball a lot, but they're not able to find that final pass in the third, just that little bit of class in and around the penalty area, and that's probably why he is frustrated. Because you dominate, but you don't really create a ton of really, really good chances. And you're playing against a team that doesn't want to be there, it looks like, and just defends like crazy.
Yeah, whether or not they wanted to be there, they certainly weren't trying to bring the game to Drake, were they? Yeah, so we were a little bit frustrated. I think watching in the first half, it seemed like there was a disconnect with the front three and the back eight, if you will, like they're with the pressing, right? We did. It seemed like it wasn't a full unit pressing together, and then we'd see Johnny Mendez came in, Landon Bench came in, and all of a sudden that looked a little bit different, didn't it, Matt? Or,
yeah.
Just trying to tee things up here and have some conversation.
No,
I
I
feel
know.
Like I might be talking to no one.
Again, a man of many words, you normally is, but
Well, I've got a lot of thoughts on it.
Well,
I mean, I was just waiting for you guys. I didn't want to.
Well, we got Blake sitting about 3 feet away from his microphone.
I didn't want to speak too soon because Ben would interrupt me.
Yeah, well, okay.
So well, yeah. So there was a little bit of a disconnect. I think what we saw first of all, like defensively, when Drake did not have the ball, right, especially early, with the guys that they started with, which was Kipnusu, and then Crew Alvarez, right?
And who played on the right side?
I think that wasn't that Evan Carlson?
That sounds right. So
it just seemed like when Oral Roberts would get the ball and they would swing it around through the goalkeeper and stuff like that, it was hard to understand, like, when are they choosing to press, and then when they do press, is it really a press? And then if they do press, are they just trying to shift it one way, or are they just running towards where the ball is? Because I think we'd see Preston, let's just say the ball gets played to the left back, Preston sort of jog out there, but he's not really making play predictable, and the ball just comes back across. And so there's a lot of movement side to side, but there's no real pressure on the ball, or it doesn't look like they're trying to give the rest of the team a picture for where the ball is going to go next. And so it seems sort of disconnected in that way, right?
When
especially
you're
on the
coaching
defensive
them,
side of the ball.
When you be coaching, what are you trying to get them to do then? You know, you're trying to make it predictable so that essentially, right, like the defenders for the opposing team, the team with the ball is basically just going to give it away, right? They're going to force a pass that's maybe under pressure, or they're going to play long. And if you're Drake, you've got 4 strong defenders in the back. They're going to win everything that comes near them, right? So they want that long pass, or they want to force something, or hopefully somebody like Preston or Crew or whoever gets the ball and wins it, and they can turn them over, and they're already in the attacking third and going to goal, right? Like that's the whole point of the press.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first question you decide is, like, where on the field do you want to start putting pressure on the ball, right? So is it all the way? And they were starting, because Oral Roberts, like when they had a goal kick, would play out of the back short. So the front 3 in Evan, Preston, and Crew would be like almost in the 18-yard box. So they were shaping up the press to have like a high press or play high pressure. So that's the first thing, right? And then the second thing is, okay, so which way are we shaping it? And if it goes to the left back, are we taking it inside, or are we going to force it out wide?
We've talked about this in high school, where like, where's the weakest player usually? Left back, typically, right? So if you give it to the weakest player, or find that person that's maybe just a little, mismatched, and that's where you're going, like, okay, that's the cue, get him.
Right. And so, we're talking about the first half right now, but to me, there was a distinct difference in how they did that and how they pressed Oral Roberts back line when they had the ball in the first half as compared to the first 5 minutes of the second half when the goal comes. So you sort of had, for me, in the first half, the strikers giving just sort of, even when they decided to pressure the ball, it was just half pressuring the ball. Like, I mean, if I'm a guy like, that I'm 6'4" and I'm the biggest guy on the field, and the left back gets it, and I'm within 5 yards of him, I'm not only going and putting pressure on, but I'm making physical contact, right? Especially
Absolutely.
the first time. And so there just wasn't
in for a game.
When you flip that to the second half, when they watch the first 5 minutes of the game, there's some different players in the game at that point. It's Elijah Fearing, Evan Carlson is still in the game, but then we've got Mamadou Sow.
There you go.
And those guys are running their socks off, but they're also not letting the ball come back across the field. So when the ball goes right or left, like Elijah has shaped it one way, but then the additional part is when the right back or left back gets it, there's pressure on the ball, and when it's played, they're actually still trying to go through the tackle, and there were probably 2 or 3 instances in the first 5 minutes where Drake was able to win the ball with their back four because of that. And I think that was a big difference. I don't know if you can play like that all the time, and maybe that was just the instruction in the second half. Is like in the first 10 minutes, you guys go and press everything, and it was a little bit, but there was a distinct difference. And then the goal comes in the first 5 minutes too.
Yeah, off set piece, a good corner kick, kind of in on top of him that gets knocked out, and decent finish from the freshman.
I just love
Elijah Fearing
throwing boys in the box on top of the goalkeeper. I mean, I think that's the goalkeeper could not punch it, catch it, clear it properly because he's got, I don't know if it was Esco, but he's got a big blonde boy on him.
It's Benj.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that was the point I was going to make is, so 2 things. Number one, the goal eventually comes because Drake's striker puts pressure on like the right back who plays a bad ball and Drake intercepts, right? And then they kind of go forward, then goes out of bounds, ends up going out for a corner. But on the corner kick, the ball gets played in, and it gets played in short. So what you have is Mamadou. Is it So or Sal? Sorry.
No, it's all right, Sal. You're
Sal.
right.
So he sort of makes something out of nothing, right? I mean, he's coming front post, and it's not a great cross in, and he just gets his foot on it, and he's able to flick it up in the air. And so then what you have is Benj standing in front of the goalkeeper, and he just sort of leans into him, and he leans into him enough to give him a problem so he can't get around him and catch it, but so there's no foul. And so then all of a sudden the goalkeeper's out, and he can't touch it, and just drops at Fearing's feet, and then he hits it with his left foot. It's a really good strike,
Nice, clean
just
strike.
kind of clean strike right into the corner. But it's a really good goal. It's not necessarily like just a wonderful like piece of skill or play. It's just putting in that extra effort. It's what I would call a bad corner kick, but a great job to rehabilitate the corner by Sal, and then Benj is just doing his job on the goalkeeper, and then Fearing just side foots it into the net first time. It's a really good goal. Not a great pieces of skill,
great
but
finish.
just good hard work, and
Yep.
goal scores goals. So
Yeah, when you were talking about Benj a little bit there, I thought he was a real difference maker for the guys last night. And it's funny because, we watched him a couple different times during the year at high school level, and I was kind of like, maybe. Like, I wasn't super convinced. And then when you watch him play for Drake, I'm like, oh, definitely, 100%. What a player. Like, he was all over.
I agree with that. I mean, I've always been convinced about Benj. I think he's going to have a really good career. He's a little bit sort of been a utility guy, even for Drake, too.
Yeah, but I kind of like
natural
that. It makes more sense.
as a freshman, because we've seen him come on and play up front, and now last night we saw him play even
Like wingback almost.
Yeah, and he got so the stat sheet says 48 minutes. I would have assumed that it was even more than that, just because I thought when I saw things that were happening good in the game last night, Benj was on the field. For me, I mean, Benj could have gone 90 minutes last night, and I think that the
definitely
team
fit
would have
enough.
even been, more improved. He's a guy that's ready to go, and he's contributing in a big way right now, I think, for Drake. So, because interesting too. Preston he gets 56 minutes. So I would have expected him to be a guy that goes more than 90, but so maybe there's some stuff going on there. I'd love to see him when the ball comes into his feet to actually hold it up, right? Like it just seems like he's always busy when it comes into his feet. And so if you're talking about, some sort of gap between your strikers or your back four, it seems like when he gets it, the ball comes into him, it comes in long, right? It never really comes into his feet like from a midfielder. And that would be an observation I have too, is I'd love to see Segura get on the ball more often just in midfield and be able to either, set it and have the next one come in, or turn and play feed into Preston or something like that. But with Preston, when it comes into him, it seems like he's always got his back facing where he wants to go next.
It's like kind of squared up as opposed to side away on.
Yeah, and he's like trying to turn with his first touch. And I just think if he would just use his body, slow it down, take a touch, bring other players into the game, then he'd get in better threatening positions. And one example that I can think of is late in the game last night, where they were trying to kill the game off. Ball comes into him, and he takes this huge turn out wide. He ends up getting fouled, so some time goes off the clock, so you could argue it was good play. But for me, I'd just be like, dude, just hold the ball up. and then let someone run off of you. You can just dump it then. So I think target play is something that can really improve for him.
That would take him to the next level.
Yeah. The other thing then is, when late in the game there were balls coming in his headers, and there were 3 of them where he did a great job to come up and win it, but then no one's running off of them.
I was gonna say nobody ran, and they're just lumping it long at this point.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad idea.
And-
but somebody, I would run off it, and he's
I
gonna
was
win.
going to
the
say,
header.
aren't you going to anticipate that somebody like Preston's going to win 9 out of 10 headers, even with a big defender on his back? Because he's very good at that.
Yeah, right. And
And you take a chance.
Yes.
Right. You have to take a chance to
Yes.
run off it, and if you get on the end of it, you kill the game.
Right. So then there is one, though, that Segura runs off of it, and then they actually get into the box, too. So, I mean, I think those are just a couple of things there.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the kind of stuff that the coaches are cutting up on film and saying, so here's what it looks like when it's good. Here's what it looks like when it's bad. Can they now actually execute that? But the trick too for somebody like Preston or Crew, those big guys, is they are getting probably kicked by somebody that's about the same size, just
There's
right
no one
in
as big
theory.
as Preston.
Well, probably not. Right, but so as a result, these guys are trying really hard to get after Preston or whoever. And I feel like for those guys, it has to then just become this challenge of no, man, I'm gonna bully you all over the place. I don't care how and that's what I'd like to see is just sort of a little dominance, because they're both so big, right?
You're talking about Crew. Oh, Crew.
Crew.
and Preston.
They're both
Yeah.
Jeez, I would not want to defend those dudes.
How tall are they?
They're both 6'3", 6'4".
Is that all? 6'4". Okay. That's
Crew's
Crew.
big.
And then what's Preston? 6'4". They look like 7-footers out there compared to everyone else.
Well, that's when you see Landon Benj, and he's probably the same size as the 3 of us, height-wise at least. I'm obviously a little chubbier than he is, but he, I don't look at him and go man, that's a big kid. But he's probably 6 feet tall and he's
Just
fast.
5'11", yeah.
Okay, but then you think about somebody that's add 4 inches to him, and it's just oh, good lord. So both those guys, those are the kind of players that the upside is huge. And we
Especially because they're freshmen and sophomore.
that's what I mean. Yeah, and then for obviously Pat's done a great job, and Kyle and their staff. I think that's just something we'll see too. And then they've got somebody like Leroy, and they've got Cole Poppin on staff to really get after these guys. What are you looking up there, Matthew? You look like you're doing some digging.
Yeah,
Want to talk about the goalkeeper a little bit?
I do want to talk about the goalkeeper.
Quite the character.
Yeah, but I
Blake's,
also want to talk
he might
about,
be Blake's favorite player.
Before I get there, I'm just looking at the youth of the team, right? So, I might miss a couple here, but Preston, sophomore, right? Crew Alvarez, freshman. Tomas Butkovic, is that how you pronounce his last name?
Sure.
Sophomore. And then, so that was in the starters last night. And then you had Jack Dancer, freshman, come on. You had, what's Mamadou?
I think he's a sophomore.
Sophomore. Then you had Mendez, freshman. Benj, freshman. Charlie Finn Bennett, or Barrett, what's he?
Freshman.
He's a freshman too. That is a ton of young guys.
Getting
Sam
experience.
DeLong, sophomore.
Getting experience, making an impact.
Yeah, exactly. Evan Carlson is a grad student, so he's the age in the team or whatever. But that's just a ton of young guys coming in and contributing. And I would argue, did I say Mendez too? Yeah, I think I did. I would argue that they're some of their best players. For me, Mendez is still. He only played 15 minutes last night, but.
And we know he's coming off an injury, but still,
Is he?
I want to. Well, over the summer, at the end of the summer, he had a little bit of a knock, so they were trying to get him fit.
Yeah.
I know
Well,
that was a thing.
What he started?
Yeah, I was gonna. He's played more games, but who
I would
knows if
just
that's
love
come
to
back.
I would love to see Mendez and Segura in central midfield
Right.
playing off each other a little bit, because that's and maybe Mendez just needs a little more time before he gets
Well, you
there,
might
but
with Kirsch is injured, so you might get your wish, Matt.
there you go. But it just seems like you have a couple. Those are their playmakers, right? A couple of playmakers. Then you got the big old guy Preston up top, winning headers, guys running off of him, Benj doing his stuff. I like the way the team looks.
All right, talk about your goalkeeper.
Me?
Yeah, you
Do
said you
wanna-
were.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
Blake
he's
wants to
just-
talk about
well,
it for sure. But Blake's a big fan.
Goalkeepers are all weird, right? And we all can. Everybody knows that all goalkeepers are.
Yeah, we got to have a little something wrong if you want to go stand in net the whole time and use your hands.
Well,
when
he
everybody
doesn't
else is
really
playing
wanna
with their
stand in
feet.
the net, though.
No, he certainly doesn't. He's a field player turned goalkeeper, isn't he?
Do you remember Mexican goalkeeper Jorge Campos?
Of course.
He just reminds me of because I feel like, he was. That was like when I was growing up watching the goalkeeper. He took some free kicks too and stuff like that. But
He was very aggressive off his line.
Yeah,
He
Tomas.
never goes on his line.
Yeah.
Correct.
He hovers about 10 yards behind the center back. Tomas does the whole game, right? And we're standing behind him, and we're like, at some point he's going to get chipped, right? At some point. But he's just sort of a character back there. He's really good with his feet most
Yep.
of the time. There was
Most of the time.
Well, there was
Occasionally one spins off his foot.
He had two or three goal kicks that looked
like my driver.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
a duck hook and ding, hitting the third row of the bleachers.
There was one ball though he played. Shragi is running, and it's a 70-yard ball.
Yeah, he pings it.
And he pings it and he hits Shragi like on his left foot. Is a really good pass. And he's really active back there. I think he's vocal. He's a good communicator. He's just all over the place, so it's kind of fun to watch. But he gives me a little pause for concern, especially
He's a
late in the
little
game.
wild man, right?
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm just looking like the guys are 50 or 60 yards away, and he's standing at the edge of the 18-yard box. I'm like, when is someone just going to try and ping
What
one
about
over his
when
head?
Pat told us a story about whatever game they were at, and he like sort of got into it with the referee and like did that? I mean, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was this really funny story where he sort of took control of the game in his own little weird way by being like just sort of adamant and like whatever, this is what's happening, and the ref sort of let it play, and it like Pat was just like, yeah, it was just like a total power move, and that seems like he's got that in him. Blake is a big fan though.
Well, yeah, he's out there entertaining, right? He loves it. He's having fun, that's for sure.
Absolutely, and I think overall that's something that seemed like certain guys in the squad are definitely having fun, and you can tell those are the guys that are performing at their best. So I think there's something to be said for that for sure.
He's also number 99.
Exactly, he's having a good time.
But his number one his jersey was number 1 last night.
Oh, was it?
So I'm curious he would be a guy, right, that wouldn't turn his jersey in or would get lost. You know what I mean? You know those guys. I would not be surprised if that's what happened.
Hilarious. Well, what else do we have?
I think just another win for the Dogs. Like, I think that's the biggest, most important thing. He's undefeated through 8 games. It may not always be pretty, but figuring out different guys scoring goals, the depth of the team, and they gotta be thrilled.
All of these games, most college games are close. There's so many 1-goal games, so you've got to be on the right side of the 1-goal difference, right? And it is really easy to drop 4 or 5 in a row, 2-1, 3-2, 1-0, and get yourself in a rut. I mean, I don't know what.
When you look at these close games, and they're not losing them, they're winning 2-1, they're winning 1-0.
Right. What is Oral Roberts is now 1-5?
Maybe 1-6 now, I think.
1-6. So what is their what's the goal differential in those games? I'm just curious, like how many 1-goal losses?
Yeah.
Maybe this is going to be not prove my point here, but we'll see.
Well, and
Schedule.
when we're looking at the schedule, they had a bunch of games. They've had a bunch of games here through mid-September, and now they're back to like a once-a-week deal. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Well, they've had a draw, so they lost 1-0 to.
Cal State Northridge.
Okay. Lost 2-0 to number 5 Wake Forest, right? So then they lost 2-1 to SMU. They won 2-1, and they lost 3-1, 3-0, and now 1-0. So they do have a little bit bigger margins, but I mean they only lost to Wake Forest 2-0. It was the number 5 team in the country, and so my point is they have one big margin, I think, of a 3-0, but everything else, winning or losing, is 1 and 2 goal differences. So you got to be on the right side of that. And for Drake, even if they're not totally satisfied with how they're playing yet, to have churned out 5 wins and 3 draws. And by the way, the 3 draws now, there's no more overtime, right? That's why you're going to see more of these draws. So you've got 5 wins in 8 games, 0 losses, and you're on the right side of these 1-goal differences when you're actually don't think you're performing at your best. I mean, if they're on the move and they peak at the right time, that could be a really good thing.
Well, here's the trick, right? So they qualify for the NCAA tournament if they get the at-large bid. But if they can string together some form of 5 or 6 more wins, there might be an at-large squad here, right? If they can get 10 wins, you're definitely in the picture
Right.
in the conversation. So they come into it. They've got 7 conference games in the Valley, and then they've got an out-of-conference game at Missouri State, who is like a top-ranked team. So any sort of good result against them is going to go a long way. So next week they host Northern Illinois at MediaCom. I would expect that's going to be a big one for them. Starting the conference off with a win also will go a long way.
Agree.
Blake, you got anything else?
Get out to MediaCom next Saturday.
Seriously, we should be supporting the local guys when we can. And the fact of the matter is, we're getting to see a lot of Iowa players as well. So
What are
that's
the
fun.
students doing on a Saturday night, by the way, at 7 o'clock when it's 70 degrees and West End is just down the
Yeah, you'd think they'd be
road?
tailgating in the parking lot, going in to watch the game, and then going to West End. Or
Yeah,
is Peggy still a thing?
I think so. It's walking distance too.
There you go. Well, it sounds like the boys will be at the game this next weekend, so come say hi. Otherwise, we'll talk to you all again soon, and let us know if there's any other requests for game of the week. We got one, and we went to it last night. So there you go.